So Tony, tell me about you and why you're here today.
Well, I used to be in the police years ago. I left 8 years ago. But I just feel really strongly about two-tier policing, and I do think that is the case, and that's what we're seeing. And I think we're seeing it here today in Nottingham.
Why do you think we're seeing it here today?
Well, since I've got here, and I'm just here just to observe what's happening, really. As always was the case, the opposite side of the argument are the instigators. They're shouting Nazi scum off our streets, fascist scum, all kinds of things like that. Yet the police are all facing off towards this side of the equation, and because they clearly see us as a threat. And I think that it's two-tier policing is just definitely the case as far as I'm concerned. We saw it with what happened in Leeds and the reaction there, and then we've seen the reaction to what's happened with these sorts of marches, and how straight away we're always taught how you act as a police officer influences how the crowd acts. So if you go in code 1 facing off to people, you're going to get a different reaction to how they've sort of dealt with the Palestinian protests or whatever.
Some people feel that the police and politicians, they're kind of doing things deliberately to wind, people kind of pouring fuel on the fire. Do you think that's true?
It's possible, because if you keep calling people right-wing thugs enough and winding them up enough, eventually some of them are going to act that way, aren't they? I think, and some people are getting a bit wound up here today. But like I say, I went near the front earlier. You've got lines of police facing us this way. You've got all the people behind them shouting horrible abuse behind them, and it looks as though the police are just sort of safeguarding them. And their sign, look, there's no signs here that say anything offensive. They've got signs saying "fuck off, Nazi scum" and all this kind of stuff. That's public order offence, isn't it? So it's not being dealt with. No one's told them to take the sign down and stuff like that. So they're the instigators, and like I say, it is two-tier policing, 100%.
We saw in Leeds police officers running from the riots when the Roma community were rioting. What did you think to that as an ex-cop?
Well, I think it's political, and I think it's appeasement of that community. You get appeasement of certain communities, and you don't get appeasement for other communities. That's the petrified of upsetting certain communities. What it is, I tell you what it is as a police officer, and I've got mates that are still police officers, if you want to deal with somebody robustly and they're non-white, I think there's hesitation there because of the optics of how that looks. If you're gripping people or dealing robustly with a crowd of people that are non-white, they're petrified of how that looks. But there's no hesitation when it comes to the white working class, because there's no blowback off that, you know what I mean? And I think that's one of the things that's behind it.
There's a lot of people, not here today, but we've seen of the protests that are blaming police for a lot of things. Is the police to blame for this?
I think not the boots on the ground, no, because I think they're following instruction. But I think that the way the management see it, and the management are political. They're all university educated. They've got sympathies with certain causes, and they haven't got sympathy with other causes. And I think the way they organise their police is causing the problem. They're going. You look at the Palestine protests. It was all community engagement. Where's our community engagement? There's none of that, is there? It's sort of, when in London 2 weeks ago, they were all in what you call Code 1 outfit. They were all ready to go. Should there be trouble? It wasn't like, come by, let's all get together, high fives, was it? It's a different style of policing for white working class.
So from your point of view, an ex-cop, what should the police be doing differently when you're in situations like this?
They are put in a difficult spot with situations like this because they're obviously just trying to stop it kicking off. But it's clear to me from a manager, how it's being managed. They say us as the threat. They don't see the other side as the threat, and they're going to deal with us one way, and they're not dealing with the other side in the same way. So I think it's just they've got to bring back balance and show clearly that it's the whole principle used to be without fear or favour, and that's what it needs to be, and it's not.
Well, thank you for your time, and have a good day.
No problem. Thank you.
Thank you.